I think we're ready to go if you're ready to go.
Ready to go.
Okay.
We have a quorum. We have everybody there.
We have 3 people here, and I'll just confirm if that's okay, who's on the phone. So I know
Okay.
I know you're there. Jeff,
Here.
Linwood,
Here.
Tiffany,
I'm here.
Megan, Sam. Okay, so we're still missing Sam. And then here at the university, we have Nancy, Kevin, and Mike. So we do
Fantastic.
have a quorum.
So we do have a quorum.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anybody else that you'd like to introduce that's in the room, Debbie?
We have a full house in the room. Of course, we have Dr. Shipley here, Dr. Follet, Bob Clark, Kyle Owen, Chris Stovall, who is our controller, Barry Maka, Chris Thames from IT, Reagan Foster is our staff senate chair, Chris Collins from the Times Record News, Charlie Carr, just a minute, I have names of some TV people, Danielle Malagary from Channel 6, Matt Park, Keith Lamb, Bradley Wilson is advisor to the Wichita and also a staff senate member. That would be faculty senate. Dave Carlston is faculty senate chair, and from Channel 3 we have Kenzie Meekbeck and Mark Campbell.
Okay. Just a reminder, this meeting is being streamed live on the internet. I ask everyone to silence or turn off your cell phones. That includes me. Hang on just a minute. Okay. We provide an opportunity for public comment concerning agenda items at the beginning of each meeting. Debbie?
No one has signed up.
Nobody has signed up, so we're going to move right along. First item is item 1639, athletics, intramural free play facilities, and location of New Health Science and the Human Services Building. At our November meeting, we asked the administration to consider the location of the artificial turf fields and free play basketball courts, and to return with recommendations within a reasonable amount of time, which 16 is reasonable. You each received a copy of the administration's recommendation last Thursday. Dr. Shipley, please walk us through this, please.
Thank you, and I'm just going to put some of the changes into a context. As you noticed on the recap of MSU planning, I asked Debbie Barrow to go back through our board notes so that we could outline what had been decisions made on facilities and what were recommendations, and so our recap preceded those. And then I'd like to talk for a moment about our recommendations for consideration. So after we left the board meeting in November, the cabinet reviewed the ideas that we had summarized, and we had a lot of great work by various vice presidents who added to our conversation. And we found that by placing the Gunn College of Health Sciences and Human Services in the area that you can see on your attachment 1, that it afforded us a lot of new decision making that will actually prevent having to download some cost to student tuition fees. And so by putting the Health Sciences and Human Services building in the corner that you see there on attachment 1, although we're taking up parking, we are going to come back to you in February on where we will replace and actually expand on that parking. But it gives us great synergy with the other professional subjects. It gives good access to the building for townspeople because we will have some clinics operating out of there, and it's going to be right next to parking and other options. So we're recommending that location, and what that does is it doesn't displace the amount of parking we had foreseen on the south side of campus, so that we can delay the building of a parking garage. By delaying the building of a parking garage, we delay the time at which we have to take the soccer stadium offline, so we actually don't need a new soccer stadium. So we save money on the building of a soccer stadium, we save money on the building of a parking garage because of placing the health sciences building where it is. And therefore we can take the student fees that were for free play and recreation and apply them to the turf fields that you see on attachment 2 and attachment 3. So what you see on attachment 2 is a turf field for soccer rather than a soccer stadium. It's placed where the soccer stadium was going to be placed. And to the delight of our soccer coaches and players, that leaves us a grass space adjacent to it for practice, because this is a team that very much loves playing on grass. It loves its existing stadium. So it's a win-win for all of us. It gives us more free play space, so the students, whenever the team's not on the turf, can play. When they're not on the grass, they can play, and it's just a great solution. Then if you look at attachment 3, you see where we would place even more turf, and that would be, it would benefit the football team to be able to practice on turf and not grass all the time. So you see 2 adjacent courts, 2 adjacent playing fields that are lined for football and soccer. And what I'd like to point out is, because of the extensive savings this gives us, we may get into contract negotiations and find out by placing turf fields adjacent to each other that we can actually have more turf and less grass. So we have a little more wiggle room with this attachment 3 to be able to expand that field out a little longer, so it's the length it needs to be, and to maybe make both those fields turf fields. And if we get really lucky, we might be able to turf the whole area. So we're recommending the budget that we have before you and the map we have before you. But if we get some significant discounts and can do more, we will come back to you in February with another budget update and ask you to approve if there's slightly more spending involved. So when you look at the spending, you can see that there are significant savings from not doing the stadium. Maryland produced a side-by-side comparison of that spending on attachment 4, and you can see that the previous proposal we put in front of you had us spending about $5.4 million, and this has $3.75. So that makes the student fee go a lot further, and it also allows us to use that bonding for other athletic needs as needed later in our time zone. So I'd be happy to take any questions on this.
Well, before we discuss further, the administration requests approval of the plan presented, requests authorization to enter into contracts for artificial turf and lighting, and approval of the use of the state master lease program for financing up to $3.1 million for this plan. Could I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Now, questions for Suzanne.
Thank you, Chair Hessing.
Any questions or discussion about this? I want to make a broad observation here. I really appreciate the fact that the administration thought this through. I think what it shows us as a board is that, we have ideas on what we've seen in the past, but Suzanne brings a fresh perspective and a fresh approach to the process, and I'm pretty excited about that. So I have to tell you, I'm kind of thrilled that this came out this way. So, anybody else?
I have a question on the page 3, the section 4. It says that if costs are below those budgeted, lighting for free play fields may be included. And I just kind of feel like that's something that shouldn't be on the back burner. I think that the free play fields should be lit. I feel like that should be something that's included in the budget.
Suzanne?
Oh, that's fine with me. I'm looking over at Merrill, and we just have to cost it out. And
Yeah, we're gonna cost it out, and the poles, the placement of the poles is pretty important, because we can't, you don't wanna put a pole.
Marilyn, please.
get up.
Sorry for that. Sure, we are definitely gonna look at that. What we wanna do is try to get the pricing, and then the pole placement's gonna be important, because you can put lights on the backs of poles. So, you don't have to put brand new poles for every light you want. You can have the poles around the one field you want, and then put lights on the back to light up the open play and that sort of thing. So we really need to get with the lighting design folks and figure out how to do it, but that would be our priority, is to get as much lit as we can for the amount of money we have. But we feel very comfortable with the budget we have now. We'll get at least the 2 fields lit, and again, as much as we can get lit, we will want to do that.
But Marilyn, the free play area is lit now. It's just
Right.
poorly lit.
It's those old,
It's old lights
the
that
old
shine all
lights.
over the city, pretty
Yeah.
much. So the new lights would actually be more directional. So if we can't afford it, it might be that we're having a suggestion that we leave the old lights in place to extend the period of play. Is that an optional suggestion that we'd like to have made, that if we can't afford lights that are new and directional for the whole project, that we stay with the old lighting, or would you like us to try to cost out the new lighting for everybody?
I mean, I think that leaving the one that's already there is an option, but I think it's important for the students to be able to utilize these fields at night. I know with the intramural flag football games, we won't be able to play those at night. It's not lit. And then also, I don't know if it's a possibility to light the outdoor basketball courts as well, as those would.
Yes.
that is included.
Yeah,
That's
lights
included
for the
in pricing.
basketball are included. It's that second playing field, that third grass field that we hadn't talked about lights. But we'll just go back, if everybody's amenable, we'll bring a new budget forward in February that shows how we can do more.
We'll get with our lighting
Let
contract.
let me make sure I understand something real quick. The issue is not whether the fields are lit. The issue is whether we use old lights or new lights. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
The fields are lit already. It's whether we try to begin to replace the old non-directional lights with more effective lighting.
Okay, got it. Understood. Thank you.
And the new turf fields will be lit,
Yes.
and they'll be available for free play, so those are
Yes.
the.
All right, any other questions or discussion?
Sean, this is Kevin. Suzanne, could you, or Dr. Shipley, could you give us your thoughts? I know you're going to bring forward in February about the parking. Can you kind of tell us generally what your thinking is? Because it seems to me this is a pretty significant displacement of parking initially without.
Yes, we're probably, how many places are we displacing? Is it around
72.
72, and we
So
have
it's not a
plans,
lot.
we're looking at a lot that would have 144, 244. So we actually have the funds to, and by moving the intramural fields the way we're moving them, we can take previously used fields that were intramural at Christ Academy and turn those fields into surface parking and come up with 244 more spaces to offset 76. And it'd be a really nice location because it's right by the residence halls. So it'd be good spaces.
Anybody else?
I have another question. On page 4, I noticed that it said that the grass field would be used exclusively for football practice. And I kind of feel like that takes away from the students a little bit, because I know we're currently allowed to use those grass fields. Would it be possible to change that to where football does have priority, but it's not exclusive?
Well, what I'm looking at says the grassed area north of the tennis courts and the new turf field would be available for free play. So
I just saw the last where it says it would be irrigated for football practice exclusively. So I don't know if is that just meaning it would only be
The
irrigated because of
90-yard football field,
I know, but that's what she's talking about.
right.
But
If we're able to take the budget and extend it by getting good pricing, that'll all be turf, which then there's no reason to protect it. So they'll be all open for
Okay.
free play, yeah,
Still just to be for intramural play.
right.
Is the grass field going to be able to be used for intramural play?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, we have a motion and a second, and since so many of us are on the phone, Debbie, will you call roll for the vote, please?
Yes, I will. Jeff,
Yes.
Linwood,
Yes.
Tiffany,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and those of you here on campus?
Yes.
All right, it's unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Moving on, item 1640, investment policy. In August, the administration reported that no changes were required to our investment policies as a result of action taken during the legislative session. During the recent investment audit process, the administration was informed that the board must review and approve policies annually, regardless of whether changes are made. Mr. Crosno noted two areas in policy 4.182 that were outdated and needed to be changed before the policy could be considered for approval. These changes have been sent to each of you for consideration. Dr. Fillet, do you have anything more to add on this?
No, we will be, our audit is finishing up, and Chris Stovall, the controller, is here if anybody has questions about the audit findings, but one of them was that we just needed to get the board to approve the policy every year, even if there's no changes. And so that report will be coming out within the next week, and so as part of that audit report, management is saying that the board has approved the investment policy at this meeting, and then we will come back to you in February with some other updates that have to be made upon recommendation of the auditors. But we did come across a couple of just basic updates that needed to be made because the language is out of date with agencies that are no longer out there since probably the 80s, I'd imagine.
All right. Before we discuss further, could I have a motion to approve these policies as presented and amended?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
Second.
Any other discussions or questions for Marilyn? Marilyn, I do have one quick question. So this audit report, when it comes out, as a part of the normal course, we will see that in February. Is that correct?
That's my understanding. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Excellent.
Yeah, and I don't know if you want to, Chris, if you would like to mention a few things.
We
that
really can't
talk about that?
because
Okay.
it wasn't posted.
Okay, sorry. We'll talk about it in February. We'll talk about the report in February.
That's fine. And again, I just want to make sure we will see it in the normal course in February.
Yes.
Okay, anybody else have any questions or discussion points?
I just make a comment. In reviewing the investment policy, there's a myriad of places in there where it says the president or the vice president of finance will do this annually or do this, make these reports, and the board of regents will approve all of these things. And I have a sense that we don't do all of that stuff. And so I would like somebody to come up with a list of everything that's required by that investment policy and make sure that we're dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's with respect to that, because I don't want to have an audit that comes along and says, well, the board was supposed to do this and they didn't do that under the investment.
That's a great point, Kevin.
Yeah, that is something that the current audit is verifying that we're doing everything we're supposed to be doing.
Good.
He still wants a list, so we'll
And
make
we'll
that
have the
list.
list, right?
And let's make sure we make that an agenda item in February to cover what Kevin just brought up.
Okay.
It's a very good point. Anybody else?
Yeah, Sean, let me make one more comment. Kevin said, well, he listed the broadness of what the administration is supposedly doing or not doing. This investment policy allows us to do lots of stuff. It's really pretty long and cumbersome, and I suspect a lot of this that's in here that we can do, we don't need. We're not ever going to do. Do we want to maybe shorten our investment policy to kind of clean it up and take out a bunch of the allowed investments that we're not using and likely won't use?
So that policy was developed about, Debbie, help me here, 4 to 5 years ago? And the guidance that we got was from not mandates from the state, but direction from the state. I don't disagree that we ought to consider updating that policy accordingly based on the facts or the items you just brought up. But I think we ought to do it with caution, and I think we ought to do it to make sure that we're in accordance with state regulation, because I don't disagree. There's probably a little more to be, but let's make sure we do it methodically. So I would suggest in February, Marilyn, we have an agenda item to have this conversation, and I think it makes some sense to have it be a discussion item.
We can do that.
Okay.
Because what the state of Texas tells you, they tell you, okay, you can do this, this, and this, which we basically have everything in here they say we can do.
Right.
But really, it's probably not the best practice to have things in here that we're actually not doing. So we don't have to have everything we can do in here. What we really should have is what are the ones that apply to us. So that would kind of just clean it up a little bit.
And Jeff, let me point something out. With our old policy, and again, Debbie, help me here. Our old policy was limited like that, and I think the board at the time felt like that it was important for us to have the ability to do what we could do under state mandates.
Okay.
So I don't disagree with you that we probably could clean it up some, but
Okay.
I also don't want to restrict this. If the market is in a situation where we want to do an investment that is available to us by state law, then we should be able to do that. I don't want to necessarily hinder us in that respect, but again, I definitely think a hard look, and as you and Kevin have both pointed out, is very worthwhile in this process. So we definitely need to consider that.
I agree, Sean.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else have any comments or questions? We have a motion and a second. Debbie, please call roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Linwood,
Yeah.
Tiffany,
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
I assume Sam has not joined the meeting? Everyone here?
Yes. Yes.
All right, it's approved.
Thank you, Debbie. Okay, well, that concludes our agenda today. Thank you for participating in this special meeting. Merry Christmas to all of you guys. Happy holidays, and look forward to seeing all of you in February at the board meeting. That's it.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Didn't do a lot. For the investment policy, I guess we just.
So,
All right.